Smart 24, driving business.
A very good morning and welcome to Smart Main's Business. It's yet another business day. I'm Andrew Barigi and I'm here with Masi Katsime as we're going to be taking you through all the way. Masi, how are you? It's a Friday and
yes, it's
winding up the week.
It's a Friday and of course
first week of the month.
First week of the month,
yeah.
And I was really on the way, and I was seeing people dressed down really up for the Friday.
Exactly.
And people tend to relax when it comes to Friday. They dress down, sandals, not the other slippers, but sandals, light shoes, light clothes. But of course, we are wrapping up the week, and of course, we hope that you've been tuning in with us as Smart Men's Business from Monday to Friday, and we are here to kickstart your day. My name is Masi Katsime, and we have very interesting things for you to anticipate. So keep it locked to Smart Men's Business.
Yes, and of course, just like to say, quite a number of top interesting discussions that are going to be coming up here. And but before we proceed into any other related discussion, I would still have to remind you that today is the last day of the week for the markets on the Zabo platform to be operating. But of course, though they haven't yet opened, but anytime from now they're going to be operating. And for you to be a part of them, it's quite very simple. There's *292#, which is the USSD code to avail with options where you'll be in position to own government bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000. You get a shillings now. The markets are going to be opening at exactly 8:15, running all the way to 3:15. That is PM East African time. This is always effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when those markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself some huge profits. Something which is quite very key and instrumental when it comes to your financial development. And still on top of *292#, you have to register with your national identification number for that to be efficient. And that's why Zaba says, my money, my future. And Doltex East Africa tells you, do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023. Well, now, as we kickstart off this, we always, just like we've talked about government bonds and securities, of course, there is a report that was out regarding the value of government bonds, which increased. That is to 5.8 trillion. Now, of course, this increase has been largely anticipated due to the increase in those investments, that what we call safe investments for the people that they can easily invest in. Bonds and securities are quite very technical, but the advantage that comes in with trading government bonds is much more. They seem much more safer, because at least you know that at all costs you'll have to get your payment back.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So the value really increased. Now, according to the Capital Markets Authority, revealed that the value of the government bonds traded, that is on secondary markets, significantly increased in the second quarter of 2023, and of course reaching to about 15.3 trillion Ugandan shillings, and that is from 9.5 trillion. To 5.1 trillion Ugandan shillings, that is to 3.2 trillion Ugandan shillings in the previous quarter. So you can see with some sort of a little bit of a sensitization to the public, now people coming up to starting to embrace. But of course, there is still much more to be done when it comes to people understanding these other avenues of investments. And actually, I know some churches or fellowships that join money together, and they actually invest in government bond securities, because at some time it might seem a little bit of an expensive venture, if you're an individual, and I mean, and we're talking about benefit, because the higher you invest, the more money that you get.
Well, I think it depends on you as an individual, because now, if you, let's say you've taken up inheritance, you know, and maybe you had like a house, maybe, and you want to sell it off. Okay, maybe, you know, the whole will and whatever. So, I mean, if you're individually young, you could actually save it. Yeah, you could save it in there. Maybe at a certain age, you could, you know, it could have made some profits. Let's say you had like 30 million, you could invest it in there. I mean, if you're 25 now, by maybe 35, something will have grown and you could do something for
10 years
yourself.
span.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
So
remember, if you're at an age of our age, really, that money is a lot for one to take in. So you would actually make funny choices. So it's better you invest it in government bonds.
Government bonds.
So that you can actually get some profits when you're older, and when you have an understanding of what you can do, then you can get it and do something resourceful or useful for yourself and family.
All right.
Yeah.
Very, very good and rightly spoken in there. Now, of course, we see that the government bond turnover still ratio for the first quarter of 2023 rose. That is to 53%. That is from 35%. That is due to, you know, among things, increased, of course, the investor appetite to, you know, government securities, and of course the report reads, of course, in part in relation to that. But however, the Capital Markets Authority still noted that on an annualized basis, government bonds turnover, that is on secondary market, experienced a decline. You know, on secondary markets, of course, this is the other side. Now, looking at putting it away from the quarterly perspective, looking at the whole picture of an annual perspective here. The annual, you get to realize that the turnover kind of declined. That is a decline. There was a decline of 5.1%, and that is during the review period, amounting to 15.3 trillion. That is compared to 16.2 trillion in the second quarter of 2022. Now, the report also indicated that during the second quarter of 2023, the Bank of Uganda issued a total of about 2.4 trillion. That is in treasury bills. 2.4 trillion Ugandan shillings. That is in treasury bills and bonds, which was 25%. That is lower compared to 3.2 trillion that is raised in the first quarter still, as you can see that. And of course, resulting from government strategy, that is to modify deficit financing, and talking about reducing domestic debt and opting for more cost-effective foreign currency financing. But of course, I mean, talking about, you know, government trying to reduce the domestic debt, that is borrowing from within, you know, and all that. So that explains that annual basis decline in terms of that. Now, also, we need to understand that in terms of interest rates, the Capital Markets Authority still noted that in the primary market, the yields on the 10-year treasury bond rose. That is to about 15.8%. That is during the period, compared to an average of 15.2% still. That is in the previous quarter ended March 2023. So you can clearly see out how it's all putting it out there. And it's all being determined by the government strategies and priorities for a given financial year. What is the government looking up to achieve at that particular point in time? Now, the report further noted that the yields of the 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 15-year-old and 20-year-old treasury bonds have declined. That is compared to the previous quarter, which the report noted was consistent with an improvement in the liquidity. That is in the liquidity position of all actors within the government bond marketplace. But of course, let's wait for the coming results to see how it's going to be really transparent out there in terms of people's participation in buying government bonds and securities. But of course, it is also important to understand that the volatility of the markets kind of determines the rate at which people are willing to risk their money. A highly volatile market is not really flexible. And it might seem a little bit unfriendly, and risky because you're not sure what is going to happen next. High, low. I mean, moving at that perspective. But of course, also the rise of securities which are safer to invest in. That's one of the key determinants. Well, that is it for our morning call. And now let's switch over and take a look at what's really happening into the price. I've got the Daily Monitor with me, the New Vision, and Master Katsumi is going to be taking us through. That is the Daily Monitor. But of course, to kickstart off here, we'll see about the FDC crisis, which is deepening. And of course, there is somebody saying here, we are going nowhere. Samuju faction wants Nandala Amuriat out, and the party secretary general scoffs at the move. So you get further details of that. And of course, Entebbe Airport still in here. Airport eyes Agriculture Ministry land for expansion. Of course, you'll find out why in particular that ministry. And of course, government to buy electric vehicles as part of the move, energy crisis happening in there. So we need to find other alternatives. And of course, we see something about the Lake Victoria tragedy, 18 people missing. Find out that when you get yourself a copy. And of course, we see something to do with the coffee meet as Kampala Summit to boost research. Very key, something that is, of course, very crucial for our country.
Well, in the Daily Monitor, on a sad note, of course, how people, the lake incident, and of course, they're finding ways of ending these lake deaths. And of course, political leaders, fishermen, security officers, and general public are singing the same tune on marine safety following the consistent pattern of accidents on the country's largest water body, in which a large percentage of travelers perish. Well, I must say, really, when it comes to that, maybe people should take swimming lessons,
Swimming lessons?
Yeah, swimming lessons. You cannot risk going... I cannot risk going to a boat because I do not know how to swim really. I cannot. I'd rather go for a more
a life
dangerous...
jacket is much more safer.
It's much more safer if you know how to swim as well. But in that moment, there is
you just float on water, right?
We just float on...
Exactly.
Did they have life jackets?
I don't think they did.
So, you see, the only alternative was you know how to swim, at least.
Because I feel like you can still drown in rough waters when you know how to swim.
Yes,
but
you can.
When you have a life jacket,
at least you can.
Life jacket is like a boat in itself.
Yeah.
It's like a portable boat, but you wear and you float on top.
Life jackets, and of course with the aspect of knowing how to swim.
Probably.
Which is those two, and of course maybe for those marine safety, those people that they should be nearby, on the radio, to know, what is happening, so that they could come to the rescue of these people. And of course, Museveni orders scrapping of taxes on imported timber, and inside Uganda's fast-growing podcast culture. That and more to look out for in the Daily Monitor. If you've been hoping to do content, and maybe you're hoping to do podcasts, this could be an insight on how far Uganda is growing in terms of podcasts. But I must say, podcasts are not really that much.
Podcasts
in Uganda, we are still on the video part of it, and
but people are doing podcasts.
They are doing them, but they're minimal, and the listenership is quite minimal. People don't.
It's going to be hard for somebody to tune into something they're not seeing. I mean, streaming you when they're just hearing it's harder than as compared to streaming when they're watching you.
But there are some podcasts that are usually live. They record them. So
like what I'm saying is that it's harder for somebody in Uganda, for somebody to listen to you when they're not seeing you.
Yes.
If you have streaming, it's like being on YouTube and you're streaming, but it's just audio. It's going to be hard. I've seen it with quite a number of ministry. There is a ministry I follow, and they were on Facebook, and they were on radio, but streaming on Facebook. But there were only about 15 people online, so majority of the people. So somebody would rather go and listen to radio than wasting data to listen to you when they can't see you. But they can waste data as long as they can see you.
Yes,
That's the funny perspective in this country. Though, well, but it's us, it's who we are. Personally, I will confess honestly, it will be hard for me to listen to you.
Unless it is that interesting.
And then you must be really so unique about that. Yeah, although watching you would be much more easy, even though actually may not really be speaking much, but people connect with the visuals more as compared. Now, as we proceed in here, we see Kenya's First Lady welcomes Pastor Robert Kayanja's Turkana farming project. Now, Kenya First Lady Rachel Ruto has applauded Pastor Robert Kayanja's proposed that is program of establishing farms in the Turkana region, that is in the Turkana country, to grow food for the entire hungry people. Quite very key and positive and aspect from Pastor Robert Kayanja. And still Museveni to buy electric cars for the army parliament. Of course, we see a picture of Prime Minister Robin Anabancha with other features, launching an e-mobility charging machine at Kura Motors plant. That was yesterday, as you can really see. And yeah, it's okay. It's moving on well.
And of course, in the Daily Monitor, investors on the spot over dumping waste in the rivers. Now, leaders and residents in Kok, Goma, sub-county in Nyoye district have accused a local investor for dumping untreated industrial waste in the community water streams. You know, this is, most of these people that side rely on these streams and rivers. So definitely, if you're dumping your wastes,
they
chemicals
don't
in there,
have a number of water bodies.
it's going to be hazardous, and of course it's going to affect their health. So definitely we have to consider the fact that this is a community the fact that you're having a big industry or you're an investor doesn't mean that you have to really come into the community's life and sabotage their easiest means of living it. They give you an opportunity to be there in the first place. So definitely there has to be ways of working hand in hand. Now, families face starvation over insecurity in the DRC. Several residents in various sub-counties near the Uganda-DRC border in Kasese district face starvation due to insecurity caused by the suspected Allied Democratic Forces for the past months. Okay. This has been ongoing, and of course, Kasese, they really usually rely on maize, posho, so definitely if that is happening, there has to be an intervention that is needed.
All right. Now, of course, in the comment section in the New Vision, we can see something to do with somebody saying that we are too casual about water transport safety. Of course, this following what has been, happening, the boat deaths and all that. And of course, perpetuating opposition, hurting the FDC. Well, all these are just opinion. And somebody tells us, stop being comfortable with what you're doing. And now there is also some aspect here, somebody saying that utilize Uganda's trade hub, that is President Museveni. I will say it actually, this is, I think, the one that he established in Serbia. Actually, it is the one. Utilize it and understand how you can actually, access the services for that. Now, of course, poor facilitation of extension workers, killing farming. This is in harvest money. There is something to do with harvest money. And somebody talks about poor facilitation of extension farmers. And that is something to really take a note. And the government urged to streamline logistics policies. Yeah. So what is that needs to be put? And then finally here, the UDB gives 509 billion investment capital to businesses. What do we have?
The banters regarding scrapping taxes on important timber. The president banned taxes on timber that is being imported into the country as raw material. Now, President Museveni was speaking the closure of the fourth biannual private sector CEO retreat that was held at Chira Motors vehicle plant in Jinja. which was yesterday, which drew 300 delegates, including ministers, senior civil servants, and heads of ministries, departments, and agencies.
Okay.
That is it for those that are really lovers of politics. FDC leaders make fresh demands on internal polls. This is the reason as to why they were having, issues within their party. The polls brought in a lot of issues. But of course, those that want to learn more, there is this about Murungi, believes mistakes are meant to teach us. He could be wrong, he could be right. So that and much more to catch in the Daily Monitor when you get yourself a copy of that.
Well, UDB gives 509 billion investment capital to businesses. Yeah, you'll find out that more, but it's available there. And the Chavazinga urges CEOs to invest in Musoga. Yeah, so that is something to check it out. And the Deputy IGG sets deadline for Kabale US MID roads. And we come to the end of our press review, and the images that you observe that in there are coming in from that is the Kura route. It must be, yeah, exactly, the Kura road junction, and that is the situation now of taking a look at the Ntinda-Bukoto route. Quite a huge fleet. The vehicles coming in from that side, heading to the different destinations. As you can really observe, it's thick. It's quite thick. Thick numbers. I mean, the number of vehicles coming in from those areas. Now, if you're coming in from Ntinda, you're coming in from Bukoto, and you're heading to the city center, probably you could think about the Nakawa route. But you see, oh well, now I can understand, because there is a construction of the Nakawa Port Bell Road. So that could be actually one of the reasons why we're seeing most of the vehicles, because Nakawa is also one of those routes. If you're coming from Ntinda, which you can actually use to connect to the city center, but due to that construction, there is an attribution to why we're seeing most of the vehicles coming in being so thick in here. So that means the Mulago roundabout, the SEM must be really congested, based on that outlook of things. So it is quite thick, so you better, and it's a Friday, definitely, that is really anticipated. And how is it going to be like when in the next 2 hours, trying to imagine that. So, well, you could think about another best alternative route, or probably if you're coming in from Ntinda-Bukoto and you're heading towards the city center, what you can do, there is a route just that overlaps that, going to the Lugogo bypass. You will be able to actually connect easily to Nakawa, then to Lugogo, and you will link up to city center.
People actually, I must say, a huge percentage of people stay that side. Really, that side, Chisasi. So definitely, a lot of congestion is expected from that.
And it's both a residential area, and some people work there.
Yeah.
So you see how there is a collusion of those two groups of people.
I believe it's a Friday. People are rushing to get to work early so that they could leave early.
Maybe.
So that they get done with their work and leave. Who would want to stay longer on a Friday?
Probably.
People have programs already set up for the weekend, procrastinating. So definitely it's going down on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday resuming a work.
All right. Because seeing some preaching
Yeah.
early morning. Yeah, it is. And of course,
I've seen them on streets as well as in Wandegea.
yeah, they are all over the place. Now I can see now the route that that's Lugogo bypass route is, yeah, it's the best route for you to link to the city center if you're coming in from these areas. And the route opposite, adjacent to it, is also free. Yeah, I can see one vehicle being held in there heading towards. But anyway, now for the people that are coming in from town, city center probably, and you're heading towards Ntinda-Bukoto, well, it's quite very free for you, and you will be able to reach in time. Well, that is it for the traffic updates. It's exactly 28 minutes past 7, and that is the situation like at the Kira Road junction. And you can see the Ntinda-Bukoto road is the mostly congested area. Like, of course, as I've explained, the reason what maybe could be the cause of that. Well, right now, Smart Means Business takes a short break, and when we return, we'll start to take a look at what's happening on to the East African community and the international community, but definitely discussing business.